What if I told you that a single coin, a single ordinary penny, changed the entire course of a man's life? Not because it made him rich, not because it was magic, but because of the hand that placed it in his palm and the three words whispered alongside it. By the end of this story, you won't look at a stranger the same way ever again. Because sometimes we walk right past the moment that was meant to save someone, and we never even know it. This is the story of Marcus Webb, and it begins on the coldest night of his life. Marcus was 31 years old, but he looked 50, not because of age, but because of life. He had grown up in a small apartment in Detroit, the son of a mother who worked 2 jobs and a father who worked none. He watched her iron other people's clothes at midnight, her hands cracked and raw, her eyes never quite losing that faraway look, the look of someone counting down to a tomorrow that never quite arrived. Marcus had promised himself he would be different. He studied hard, he worked harder. He got a scholarship to a small college in Ohio, the first in his family to go. His mother cried at the kitchen table the day the letter came. She held it to her chest like it was scripture. But life has a way of testing the people who can least afford to be tested. In his sophomore year, his mother had a stroke. Marcus came home. He told himself it would be temporary, just a few months, just until she recovered. But months became a year became 2, and by the time she was stable, Marcus had lost his scholarship, lost his apartment, and lost the version of himself that still believed things could get better. He found work. Dishwashing, delivery, construction, whatever he could find. But Detroit in those years was a city bleeding out, and jobs disappeared faster than they appeared. He slept on a friend's couch, then a shelter, then for a while, nowhere at all. The worst part wasn't the hunger, it wasn't the cold, it was the invisibility, the way people's eyes slid past him on the street like he was made of glass, like the fact that he was suffering was somehow embarrassing for them. He started to believe it himself, that he was invisible, that he was nothing, that the world had looked at him, decided what he was worth, and moved on. And on a Tuesday evening in February, Marcus Webb walked to the Montrose Bridge over the Detroit River, and he stood there for a very long time. The wind off the river was savage that night. It cut through his thin jacket like it wasn't even there. Below him, the water was black and slow and enormous. He had been standing there for 20 minutes, maybe more. He wasn't sure why he hadn't left yet. Maybe because he had nowhere to go. Maybe because standing still felt like the first honest thing he'd done in years, just admitting, finally, that he was lost. He thought about his mother. He thought about the scholarship letter. He thought about the gap between who he was supposed to be and who he had become, and the gap felt like the width of that river, cold and deep and impossible to cross. He closed his eyes. The traffic behind him hissed and moved. No one stopped. No one looked. Just another invisible man on just another bridge on just another Tuesday night in a city full of invisible people. He was about to turn and walk away, or not walk away, he himself didn't know which, when he heard it. A voice, small, unhurried, coming from just beside him. "Hey." He turned. An old man stood a few feet away. He was short, bundled in a coat that was too big for him, with a woolen cap pulled down over his ears. He had the kind of face that had been smiled in so many times it had simply stayed that way, creased permanently upward even when the expression underneath was serious. He wasn't looking at the river, he was looking at Marcus. "Cold night to be standing still," the old man said. It wasn't a question, it wasn't pity, it was just an observation, offered gently, the way you might tell a stranger their scarf had come undone. Marcus said nothing, his throat was tight. The old man didn't push, he just stood there, and somehow that was worse or better than anything he could have said, because he stayed. In a world that had spent years walking past Marcus Webb, this stranger simply stayed. After a long moment, the old man reached into his coat pocket. He pulled out a penny, a single, ordinary copper penny, and held it out. "I carry these," he said. I give one to someone whenever I think they need to remember something." Marcus looked at the coin. He almost laughed. He almost cried. Instead, he just held out his hand, and the old man placed the penny in his palm. It was warm. The old man had been holding it. "What am I supposed to remember?" he asked. His voice came out smaller than he intended. The old man looked at him for a long moment. Then he said 3 words, "You're not finished." And then he smiled, pulled his coat tighter, and walked away down the bridge. Marcus stood there, the penny in his fist, the wind off the river pressing against him, and something shifted, something small, the way a single degree of temperature turns water into ice or ice back into water. He didn't know why those 3 words hit him so hard. He didn't know anything about the old man. He never saw him again. But something about being seen, really seen, without pity, without performance, just seen, unlocked something in his chest that had been sealed shut for years. He turned away from the bridge. He walked back toward the city. He didn't know where he was going, but for the first time in a long time, he was going somewhere. If you enjoy powerful stories like this, stories that can change the way you see life, follow Fact Nest for more inspiring stories and mind-blowing lessons. Every story we tell is a reminder the world is far more extraordinary than we think. Change doesn't happen overnight. Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something. For Marcus, it happened the way the sun rises, so slowly you almost don't notice it until suddenly the whole world is different and you can't imagine it being dark. He went back to the shelter that night and asked if there was any work he could do in exchange for a longer stay. There was. He swept floors, he sorted donations. He became, over the weeks that followed, a kind of unofficial anchor of the place, someone who showed up, who remembered names, who made the new arrivals feel slightly less terrified. A caseworker named Diane noticed. She connected him to a workforce reentry program that helped him get his GED equivalency validated and placed him in a paid apprenticeship at a small electrical company. His hands learned new things. His mind, long unused, stretched back to life. He carried the penny everywhere, not superstitiously, just as a reminder. Anytime he felt the ground shift beneath him, anytime the old darkness crowded in at the edges, he would reach into his pocket and feel the small, warm weight of it and remember, you're not finished. He got his own room, then his own apartment, small, bare, on the 3rd floor of a building where the elevator never worked, but it was his. He stood in the middle of it the first night and wept, not from sadness, but from the sheer, overwhelming relief of being somewhere. He enrolled in a community college night program, electrical engineering. It took him 4 years, working full days and studying full nights, with a mother who was slowly, imperfectly recovering and needed him on weekends. He graduated on a Thursday afternoon in May. His mother sat in the front row in a yellow dress she'd been saving for a special occasion. She didn't cry. She just held both his hands in hers and kept nodding like she was agreeing with something the universe had finally gotten right. By the time Marcus was 40, he had built a small but successful electrical contracting business, employing 11 people, most of them men and women he had handpicked from reentry programs, from shelters, from the edges he himself had once stood on. But the work he was most known for wasn't the business. It was Tuesday nights. Every Tuesday evening, Marcus Webb walked to the Montrose Bridge. He stood there for an hour with a thermos of coffee and a pocket full of pennies. He didn't hand out flyers, he didn't preach, he just stood there in the cold or the heat, watching. And if he saw someone who looked like he had once looked, still, silent, staring at the water, he would walk over and say one thing, "Hey." Sometimes they talked for 5 minutes, sometimes for 2 hours. Sometimes the person just needed to be seen, really seen, without pity, without performance, just seen by someone who understood. He gave each of them a penny. "You're not finished," he would say. And in the 11 years he stood on that bridge on Tuesday nights, he spoke to over 400 people. Some he never saw again. Some came back to find him, to tell him about the job they'd gotten,
the child they hadn't abandoned, the morning they'd almost given up and then hadn't. He kept a notebook, not of their stories, just their first names, 412 names written in small, careful letters, like a list of people who had been retrieved from the edge of something enormous. He never found the old man from the bridge. He looked sometimes. He never knew his name. He never knew if the old man even understood what those 3 words had done. But Marcus understood something the old man probably did know, that kindness is not always loud. It is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is a warm penny and 3 quiet words offered to a stranger in the dark. Sometimes it is simply staying when everyone else has walked past. And sometimes, if the timing is right, if the heart is ready, if the universe is paying attention, that is enough to change everything.
Here's what I want you to take with you from this story. You will never know, you cannot know, what moment in someone's life you are walking into. You don't know if the person ahead of you in line is having the worst day of their existence. You don't know if the stranger standing still on the bridge is standing at the edge of a decision that will determine whether they have a future at all. You don't know, and that's exactly the point. Because kindness doesn't require knowledge, it doesn't require certainty, it doesn't require a plan or a program or a purpose. Sometimes it just requires the willingness to pause, to stay, to say hey, and mean it. The old man on the bridge didn't save him with money. He didn't save him with advice or a shelter bed or a job. He saved him with attention, with presence, with the radical act of treating a suffering stranger as though they mattered, because they did, because you do, because everyone does. There are people in your life right now, in your neighborhood, in your family, in the background of your daily routine, who are standing on their own version of that bridge. They are invisible and freezing and counting down to something they haven't told anyone about. And you might be the old man. You might be the one with the penny. You might be the one who, without even knowing it, says exactly the 3 words they need to hear. You're not finished. Neither are they. So stay. Look up, be the person who stops, because one moment of kindness, one ordinary, unheroic, quietly human moment of kindness can change someone's destiny forever. It might already have changed yours, and you never even knew it. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you carry your own penny, your own reminder, drop it in the comments. We read every single one. Follow FactNest. The next story is already waiting for you.